Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be looking at embracing the unfailing love of God today. And I think this is going to be a pretty powerful reminder of something, well, much bigger than our daily routines. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're going to be looking at passages from Romans, John, Deuteronomy, Psalms.
Wow.
A real greatest hits of love and faith.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And of course, we have our expert here to help us unpack these really profound ideas. They're going to help us connect the dots and find those aha moments.
I'll do my best.
But before we get started, I'm curious. When you hear unfailing love, what comes to mind? Just hold on to that thought as we see what these ancient texts have to say.
It's fascinating how this idea of unfailing love is not just some vague feeling. It's really rooted in something much deeper, like a fundamental aspect of God's very being.
So where do we even begin to unpack something this profound?
Well, Romans 8.3839 is a great starting point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's this incredible statement of security, basically saying that nothing can separate us from God's love.
Yeah.
Not even the tough stuff.
That verse always makes me think about those times, you know, when life just feels completely overwhelming, job stress, family drama, those moments when you just want to crawl under a blanket and hide. And it's like, even then, this love is still there.
Exactly. It's not about whether life is easy or hard. It's about knowing that there's this unshakable foundation beneath it all, like a refuge, especially when those storms hit.
So instead of just saying nothing can separate us, I'm curious about what those things actually are. I mean, the verse lists some pretty intense stuff: trouble, hardship, persecution. It's not exactly a walk in the park.
Right. That's a great point. It's acknowledging that life will have challenges, even darkness at times. But the core message is this: even those things, as difficult as they might be, they cannot sever that connection to God's love. It's really a powerful statement about the enduring nature of that love.
It's almost like a dare. Like, go ahead, life. Throw your worst at me. This is what I'm holding on to.
Precisely. It's not about denying the reality of those struggles, but understanding that they don't have the final say. This love is bigger, it's stronger, it's more persistent.
That definitely shifts your perspective. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but knowing there's this deeper reality that can't be touched by those external circumstances.
Yeah.
So we've got this incredible sense of security, this unwavering anchor. But how do we really grasp the depth of this love? I mean, how do we even begin to wrap our minds around it?
That's where John 3.16 comes in. Maybe one of the most famous verses out there.
Yeah.
But it really drives home the profound nature of God's love. It says, He loved the world so much that He gave His only Son.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, I love you. It's another thing entirely to back it up with that level of sacrifice.
Exactly. It goes beyond words, beyond any human measure of love.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really challenging.
Yeah.
Because it forces us to ask, if this is the extent of God's love, how does that change our view of ourselves? Are we even worthy of such a gift?
Whoa. That's a depth question. It's almost like it flips the script on our usual insecurities. Instead of feeling like we have to earn this love, it's more about grappling with the sheer magnitude of it.
Absolutely. And that grappling, that wrestling with the implications, it's part of the journey of faith. It's about letting go of our limited understanding and opening ourselves to something much greater.
This is already shifting my perspective in a big way. So we've got this unshakable security, this mind-blowing sacrifice. But let's be real, life isn't always easy. How does God's love fit into those messy, complicated parts of our lives?
That's where Romans 8.28 comes in. It reminds us that God works for the good of those who love Him.
So even when things are tough, there's still a purpose.
You got it. It doesn't necessarily mean everything will be pleasant or pain-free, but rather that even those difficult experiences can be woven into a larger tapestry. God can use those challenges to shape and refine us, to draw us closer to Him.
So it's less about avoiding the hard stuff and more about looking for the thread of meaning that runs through it all.
Exactly. And sometimes that thread is only visible in retrospect. It's about trusting that even when we can't see the bigger picture, God is still at work, orchestrating things in ways we may not fully understand.
That's a really comforting thought, especially when you're in the middle of those difficult seasons. It's like, okay, maybe I don't have all the answers right now, but there's a bigger purpose at play.
And that trust, that surrender to the unknown, that's a key part of embracing God's unfailing love. It's about letting go of our need to control everything and allowing ourselves to be carried by a force greater than ourselves.
So we've talked about this love as a source of security, a demonstration of unimaginable sacrifice, and even a guiding force in the midst of challenges. What I'm starting to realize is that it's not just something we passively receive, it's something that's meant to flow through us, right?
You're hitting on a crucial point. It's not just about being loved, it's about becoming love,
Mm.
about letting that divine love transform us from the inside out.
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting. Because it's not just about basking in the warmth of this love. It's about becoming a conduit for it.
It's amazing how this concept of unfailing love,
Yeah.
it, uh, it really starts to shift our whole perspective once we let it sink in.
It totally does. We've been talking about this love as a source of security, a demonstration of this incredible sacrifice, and even like a guiding force during those tough times. But I'm starting to realize it's not just about receiving this love, it's about becoming a conduit for it, right?
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
not just about basking in the warmth of this love, but it's about becoming love itself,
Mm.
letting it transform us from the inside out.
So it's not just a feeling, it's an action.
Precisely. 1 John 4.16 tells us that God is love, and whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them. It's a powerful reminder that we're not just recipients of this love. We're meant to be like vessels, channels through which it flows out into the world.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here. So it's like we become these walking, talking embodiments of God's love, radiating it outward into the world.
Beautifully put. It's not about keeping this love bottled up inside. It's about letting it overflow, touching the lives of those around us.
I love that image. It's
Yeah.
like we become these little love fountains, sprinkling kindness and compassion wherever we go.
Yeah, and those sprinkles, no matter how small they may seem, can have a ripple effect. They can brighten someone's day, inspire hope, create a chain reaction of goodness.
So it's not about waiting for some grand opportunity to like save the world. It's about recognizing those everyday moments where we can make a difference.
Exactly. It's those seemingly insignificant acts of kindness that truly embodies God's love. A smile, a listening ear, a helping hand. These are the ways we bring this abstract concept to life.
It's almost like we're given these little love missions throughout the day. Like, okay, there's someone who needs a little encouragement. Go sprinkle some love on them.
I love that way of thinking about it. It's like we're secret agents of kindness, spreading God's love undercover.
Okay, I'm totally on board with the secret agent mission, but sometimes it feels overwhelming. Like, how can I possibly live up to this call to love so completely?
It's a valid feeling. And it's important to remember that we're not expected to do this perfectly. Deuteronomy 6.5 tells us to love God with all our heart, soul, and strength. It's a call to wholehearted devotion. But it doesn't mean we have to be perfect.
So it's about the intention, the desire to love fully, even if we stumble along the way.
Precisely. It's about aligning our hearts with God's heart, letting His love be our compass.
But how do we actually do that in the chaos of everyday life, with work, family, and everything else vying for our attention? It's so easy to lose sight of that deeper purpose.
It's definitely a challenge.
Well,
But remember that image of being a vessel. It's not about generating this love ourselves. It's about staying connected to the source, allowing God's love to flow through us.
so it's less about striving and more about surrendering.
Yes, it's about recognizing that we're not doing this alone. We have the support of a loving God who is constantly pouring His love into us. Our job is simply to stay open, to receive that love,
Yeah.
and to let it overflow.
Okay, that makes it feel much more attainable. It's not about mustering up some superhuman effort. It's about aligning ourselves with a force that's already at work.
Exactly. And as we do that, as we become more attuned to God's presence in our lives, we'll find that living out His love becomes more and more natural. It becomes less about effort and more about a joyful outpouring of what's already within us.
It's like we're becoming these love magnets, attracting and reflecting God's love wherever we go.
And those magnets, even the small ones, can have a powerful impact.
This is so inspiring. It's like we're being given a glimpse of a different way of living, a way that's rooted in love and connection, rather than fear and scarcity.
And that way of living, it isn't just some unattainable ideal. It's something that's available to each of us, right here, right now.
It all starts with embracing that unfailing love. That's a pretty solid foundation to build on. But I'm wondering, how do we make sure this love doesn't just stay, within the walls of our churches or our personal prayer times?
That's a crucial question.
We've been unpacking so much about embracing the unfailing love of God, this love as like an anchor when times are tough, this incredible example of sacrifice, and even how it shapes us through the hard times. And it's really striking me that it's not just about us receiving this love, it's about becoming love and letting it flow through us.
You got it. It's like we're shifting from being loved to being love, which is a whole different way to look at life.
Yeah. So we're these love fountains. There's secret agents of kindness spreading it around. But how do we actually keep this up? How do we make sure this isn't just like a one-time inspiration boost, but something that really changes our lives?
Right. Well, embracing this kind of love, it's not just a one and done thing. It's a journey. It's a constant unfolding.
So it's not like we reach some love expert level and then coast.
No, not at all. It's more about staying open, being willing to be surprised by how God shows up. We're always learning, always growing.
That takes some of the pressure off. So it's not about being perfect. It's more about showing up with a willingness to let this love change us.
Exactly. And that change starts with noticing, becoming more aware of how God's love is already present.
So we're tuning into those little whispers, those moments when we sense something bigger breaking through.
Exactly. It could be a breathtaking sunset,
Mm.
a moment of gratitude for your family, even just that feeling of peace when everything's crazy. It's like training ourselves to see those glimpses of God in the everyday.
So we're building this love radar, becoming more sensitive to those signals.
Right. And the more we practice this, we'll start to see the world differently. Those opportunities to be kind, offer support, extend grace, they become more obvious.
I'm picturing these love goggles that highlight all the good stuff happening around us.
I love that. And the more we see it, the more we want to be part of it. It's contagious.
This is so encouraging, but I gotta admit, some days it feels hard just to get out of bed, let alone be a beacon of love for the world.
I hear you. It's real. And it's good to remember we're not alone in this. One of my favorite images is from Psalm 36. God's love is like a river, always flowing, always there to nourish us.
So even when we feel depleted, we can always just dip our buckets into this wellspring and be replenished.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. It's inexhaustible. And that's what keeps us going, even when we're discouraged.
That's a powerful step. It's like we're being given this incredible gift, this unfailing love, and then invited to share it.
Yeah. And the more we share it, the more it multiplies, like ripples in a pond, spreading out and touching more lives.
So we're not just receiving this love, we're part of this incredible chain reaction of goodness.
You got it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting. We're part of something much bigger than ourselves, something that can change the world.
Wow, this deep dive has been such a journey. We've gone from these ancient texts to practical ways to live this out every day.
Just remember, embracing this love is an adventure. It's about staying curious and open to new ways of experiencing it. Even the smallest acts of kindness can make a difference. That smile you give someone you don't know, listening to a friend. Those are the ways we make this love real.
It's a beautiful challenge. I'm so glad we got to explore this together. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and keep the love flowing.